G'day guys and gal, I cannot state just how hard the traitor legions got shat on after the Heresy. There is a reason that for 10,000 years, Chaos barely seemed like a faction at all. Even when the Imperium was on the brink of imploding during the Age of Apostasy and the other various dark times between the current setting and the Heresy, the traitor legions just never came forward to take advantage of the situation. That is because they literally couldn't. See, they got smashed during the Heresy, then they got smashed even harder during the Scouring, and then smashed the hardest during the Legion Wars, and no, that's not as fun as it sounds. You may know of the first two, but what are the Legion Wars? What was this period of time where the traitor legions almost wiped themselves out, and how did this change the traitor legions as we know them today? Before we get started, this is your last week to pick up Natty Plus subs for up to 51% off, a supplement company I founded because I was sick of taking a ton of supplements from a ton of different bottles and wasn't even sure if they were working. So I combined various synergistic ingredients at their clinically studied doses in their most bioavailable forms into hero stacks that target different biomarkers in your body. I hope that makes sense. We then got them third-party tested, ran human trials, and the results were supplements that actually work, and we actually have the blood work to prove they work. The Ultimate Testosterone Booster is our most popular, and for good reason. Low testosterone in men means low energy, higher fat, less muscle, low libido, and you have a way higher chance of dying earlier than people with healthy testosterone. The issue is that modern society is just full of low-T shit. Pollution, chemicals, processed foods, microplastics, more sedentary lifestyles. All of this is basically cucking us and making us bitches. Many scientists even said that the huge uptick in male suicides, loneliness, and depression is directly tied to global testosterone crashing. So that leaves men with two apparent options: get on testosterone, which has a ton of complications, side effects, and big ass needles, or just suffer. I said fuck that, and I combined the most research and legitimate natural testosterone boosters there are into a single supplement: Tomcat, Shilajit, boron, and 7 other active ingredients. Because of this approach, we've been seeing 30, 50, 70, 100, even 200% increases in testosterone from customers, with the blood work to prove it, with all of them saying they feel way better. So to stop being a low-T bitch or improve various other biomarkers through our other subs, then click the link below. Today we'll go over the Legion Wars, what they were, the key battles, and how it changed the traitor legions forever. Let's get into it. Not all Space Marines came out of the Heresy the same. Some were in decent form, others were a shadow of their former selves. All traitor legions suffered a huge amount of casualties, but it wasn't equal. Just after the Heresy, the traitors began a fighting retreat to the Eye of Terror. The vengeful loyalists were hot on their tail. This time was known as the Scouring. Now during the Scouring, some legions were hit harder than others. The Iron Warriors had left the Siege of Terror early, and the engagements they did have in the Scouring, they generally came out on top. Likewise, the Emperor's children were also immensely powerful, not suffering many casualties during the siege due to them being more focused on murder fucking the civilians and turning them into space rack than actually besieging the palace. Likewise, during the Scouring, they avoided most conflicts and even managed to take out Gilliman. On the flip side, the Night Lords got crushed. They already lost most of their legion during the Heresy, and despite not being present for the siege in any meaningful numbers, they were further smashed by the Ultramarines on Saguelsa after Conrad's death until very few remained. Eventually, either through getting crushed and fleeing, or strategically withdrawing and causing a lot of damage to the Loyalists, all traitor legions ended up in the Eye of Terror, bar the Alpha Legion, as it was the one place in the galaxy where the Loyalists could not follow them. All legions were wounded, both physically and their pride. Many of them were not happy that they had gone from Kings of the Galaxy to a bunch of bandits fighting over ruined worlds. Many of the traitor Primarchs fucked off. They wanted to explore their new demonic power and were pretty sick of their needy sons. Lorgar, Angron, and Fulgrim more or less dipped, with Mortarion settling with his legion on the Plague Planet, Magnus settling on the planet of the Sorcerers with his legion, Lorgar settling on Sicarius with his legion, and Perturabo settling on Merengrad with his. This left the Emperor's children, Sons of Horus, and World Eaters to fend for themselves with nowhere to truly call home with their Primarch. There were also numerous warbands from other legions, even the ones that still had their Primarchs around. Space Marines who were sick of following their Primarchs like puppy dogs, so there were still forces of Death Guard, Iron Warriors, and Wordbearers thousands strong that wanted to carve out their own mini empires. Now here is where it all goes to shit. So the Eye of Terror is 1-star on TripAdvisor. It fucking blows. Very few humans live there, and the ones that do are pathetic. There also isn't many resources, and the vibe is just all around shit. The traitor legions wanted to rebuild worlds and cities for themselves, as well as rearm and get more slaves. However, the Loyalists were breathing down their necks, so real space raids were hard and costly. This, combined with the fact that most of the traitor legions hated each other's guts, meant that they started raiding and attacking each other instead, stealing each other's resources and slaves, and also dishing out some pent-up frustration. The legion that got hit the hardest were the Sons of Horus. Many legions blamed them for the Heresy and how shit everything was, so they continually got smashed. To try to protect themselves, many of them allowed demons to possess them for extra power. However, as as they did not know how to do it very well, the process was janky and left them hollowed out. In the meantime, Fabius Bile had taken control of the Emperor's children, swelling their numbers with his genecraft, as well as the fact that not many of them actually died during the Heresy. Fabius wanted to reunite the traitor legions and end the Legion Wars, so he assaulted the Sons of Horus homeworld, killed a bunch of them, stole Horus's corpse, and then used the DNA from that to clone a new Horus. Now, Abaddon had been going on a journey of self-discovery during this time, away from his legion. During his journey, he joined forces with champions from various different traitor legions, recognizing that strength came from a diverse set of power. A force that had the sorcerers of the Thousand Suns, the shock troops of the World Eaters, the duelists of the Emperor's children, the siege masters of the Iron Warriors, the terror troops of the Night Lords, and so on, would be significantly more powerful than any single traitor legion. So he returned to find his previous legion, the Sons of Horus, smashed and insulted by the stealing and cloning of their father. Abaddon took the vengeful spirit as well as a big-ass meteor and threw it at the Emperor's children's new homeworld, before then engaging their forces in orbit and killing the clone of Horus in a 1v1, establishing himself as the new force to be reckoned with within the traitor legions. The Emperor's children suffered massive losses from this attack, which then encouraged the other traitor legions to dogpile them as everyone hated them, causing the Emperor's children to become completely shattered into warbands and lose most of their legionaries, going from arguably the most powerful to now the least powerful, more or less suffering the same fate as the Night Lords. At a similar time to this, Khan was leading the World Eaters against the Emperor's children on a different world. However, the conditions forced both sides to stop fighting and seek shelter. They even asked for a truce to be able to survive the conditions, which sent Khan into a bloodthirsty rage, causing him to massacre warriors on both sides, breaking up the World Eaters into warbands and ending their cohesion as a legion, earning him the moniker of the Betrayer. Abaddon returned to the dregs of the Sons of Horus and reformed them into a new legion, the Black Legion, which also drew in many diverse warbands who rallied to Abaddon as their new warmaster. However, the Legion Wars were far from done. See, despite the Emperor's children being knocked down and the World Eaters being scattered, the Black Legion was now one of many new demi-legions that were forming. Other large warbands had been absorbing smaller ones to create huge forces, many of which rivaled Abaddon in power. One by one, Abaddon, through sheer might, cunning, or charisma, absorbed each of these until only his arch-rival, Targus Daravek, a Death Guard sorcerer, was left to oppose him. Abaddon was regularly being humiliated by Daravek, who was incredibly frustrating to deal with for Abaddon. Abaddon sent Kaon, a sorcerer so powerful he managed to make Magnus kneel before Abaddon, 6 times to try assassinate Daravek, and each time he failed. When Abaddon tried to go search for Dracnian, Daravek attacked multiple Black Legion worlds that were now undefended, butchered them, and then chased Abaddon to the edge of the Eye of Terror. Kaon again tried to kill Daravek, but Daravek easily overpowered Kaon's magic, as it turns out that during one of the assassination attempts, Daravek captured Kaon, put a spell of binding on him, and then wiped his memory. Pretty bitch-ass move. Abaddon was able to escape this encounter using his wit and fast thinking. In their final battle, Kaon figured out how to remove the binding and easily overpowered and then decapitated Daravek, killing Abaddon's final rival and ending the Legion Wars. The outcome of the wars was the World Eaters were now shattered into warbands, the Emperor's children were now shattered into warbands, the Black Legion had been formed, but was still reasonably small and under-resourced, needing thousands of years to build into the threat it has become today. The Death Guard, due to them mostly avoiding the Legion Wars, alongside the Iron Warriors, became the 2 most dominant traitor legions. For both the Emperor's children and World Eaters, the Legion Wars broke them so hard that it has only been the recent return of their Primarchs which has brought them back together. The Legion Wars did devastate the traitors, however it did create a sort of from the ashes the Black Legion rises kind of vibe. If there had been no Legion Wars, then Abaddon likely would not have become Warmaster, or at least not in the same effective way he did. So long term, ironically, it may have actually been great for the traitors to have the Legion Wars, although it did mean that they were more or less cut for 10,000 years. Now, although the official Legion Wars are over, chaos infighting is still alive and well. Traitor legions and warbands will regularly clash over resources, egos, or because of the will of their gods. No one does more damage to the traitor legions than the traitor legions, which is the exact issue Abaddon is trying to solve with the Black Legion. The current situation for each of the traitor legions is as follows. The Sons of Horus are no more, the Black Legion is their successor, however it is a complete mix of legions and Geneseed. The Emperor's children are recently reformed under Fulgrim, and with Fabius recently securing a huge bash of fresh Emperor's children Geneseed from Trazyn, are growing in strength. The Iron Warriors are very powerful, a full legion with Perturabo about to re-enter the setting. The Wordbearers are likewise large in number, however are disunified and likely won't be a threat until Lorgar re-enters the setting. The Night Lords are arguably the weakest of the traitors, however they were last seen reforming under a new warlord, Decimus. The Death Guard are licking their wounds after the Plague Wars, with Mortaran in the naughty corner and Nurgle himself recovering from the Emperor's fire. Magnus has just been a fucking nerd. Angron is leading the World Eaters and causing a lot of issues in Imperium Nihilus, however his initial onslaught has been checked by the Lion, and Omegon is doing something. It's a hot pot of spice that's about to pop. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up some Natty Plus subs, especially the Ultimate Testosterone Booster. The sale only has a week left. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more warlike content. Join the Discord for more more memes that I'll see you in the next one. Peace.